her second DTM. Remember, the highest designation you can achieve in Toastmasters. She's a full-time real estate broker, 36 years in the business, specializing in residential real estate sales and marketing in Fort Bend County. She and her husband Stan, Jan and Stan, are known as the spouses selling houses. She's a former long-distance runner and has completed multiple marathons, sprints, triathlons, and will be running in the Rhythm and Blues halftime marathon on tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah. This morning, Jan will explain the personal benefits derived from serving as a leader. In her presentation, we are all leaders. Please welcome Jan Poscovsky.
Let's see, can you hear me without the microphone?
Yes.
I can.
Everybody? Okay, I'm going to opt to not use it. We are all leaders, whether we want to be or not. There is always someone we're influencing, leading them to good or away from good. That quote was said by Leif Erikson, a Nordic explorer over 1,000 years ago, but it still holds true today. If we are all leaders, does it matter what type of leader we are? I say it does, and I'm going to share to you why. I believe that there are 3 types of leaders: the willing leader, the reluctant leader, and the leader by default. The willing leader is someone who saw a need and stepped up to the plate. They went after that position, whether it was running for an office or just volunteering. And I suspect that the majority of you in this room are willing leaders. You're here on your own volition. So let's give yourselves a hand. The second leader is the reluctant leader. Now, I can't imagine that there are any reluctant leaders in this room. The reluctant leader is someone who's filling a position because another person twisted their arm. There was a need and there was no one to fill it, so the person accepted grudgingly. Well, whether you're a reluctant leader or not, let's give those people a hand. Because the reluctant leader is filling a need. Now, the leader by default is someone who absolutely never, ever will take on a leadership position. So how can they be a leader if they're not leading anyone else? They are a leader by default because, as the quote said, we're always influencing someone. A good example of a leader by default is an older sibling who has a younger brother or sister who looks up to them. And even though that older sibling doesn't know it, he or she is influencing the younger one. When they do bad things or good things, that younger person is going to want to emulate them. And a lot of times it's a negative situation. I don't want to spend any time talking about the negatives, because there are plenty of those. But what I want to do is talk about the positives of leadership. We always hear how great leadership is for our followers, how much we do as leaders for the other folks. But I contend that as leaders, we get personal benefits through our service. That's what I want to talk to you about this morning. I believe that we benefit from 4 universal laws. There's the law of compensation, the law of increasing returns, the law of reciprocity, and the law of contrast. When we are leaders, we see all these laws in action. The law of compensation. Have you ever heard what goes around comes around? Some people refer to it as the law of karma. Basically, it says what you put out there comes back to you. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote a lovely essay about the law of compensation. And in it, he said that we live in a world full of abundance. All we need to do is share our gifts with others. And when we do, we benefit. When we give our gift of leadership to others, we help them grow. And in the long run, it's going to come back to us. It might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might be a year from now. But when we give, we get back. When you're leading other people, don't you feel good when you know you've made a difference? That's the law of compensation in action. Now, the law of increasing returns is a law of compensation on steroids. It says that when we give, and we do so with intention and attention, we get back even more than what we put out there. A good example is gardening. If you have a seed, a tomato seed, let's say, and you plant it in fertile soil, you water it, you make sure that it gets lots of sunshine, and you pay attention to it, what will happen? We'll get a plant, won't we? And when that plant sprouts and it gives us its fruit, will we get only one tomato? No. If you're a good gardener, you'll get lots of tomatoes. And that's the law of increasing returns in action. Paying attention, giving your attention to something, and being sincere, looking after it, and ensuring that what you've done will hit its target. That's the law of increasing returns. The third law is the law of reciprocity. There's a famous PhD, Robert Cialdini, who wrote a book called Influence. You may have heard of it. In that book, he says that there is a law of reciprocity where when someone gives something to someone, there is a sense of obligation that's created for the recipient. And it's really the basis for our society. That's why people volunteer, because someone else may have helped them along the way. And when they have that makes you feel like you have something to give back, or should give back. So the law of reciprocity says that there's that obligation that's created. He uses an example of the Hare Krishna. Anyone familiar with that? You raise your hand, you're dating yourself. They're a religious cult that's still active today, but in the 70s they were very, very active. And they tried, like the Dickens, to raise money, but they were very unsuccessful. They'd go to airports, to public areas, and panhandle. No one would give them any money. And then they discovered the law of reciprocity. They began to give people flowers, little booklets, and before they knew it, they were getting money. They were getting the money from people who were grudgingly giving it to them when they would be asked for. They would stick their hands in their pocket and just almost throw the money at them. But they didn't care because they were achieving their goal. They were raising the money that they needed. Now, how does the law of reciprocity or the law of increasing returns or even the law of compensation help you? Well, in the law of compensation, as I mentioned, when you give, you get back. And that means that someone's going to pay you back in some form or fashion. The law of increasing returns, when you're giving and giving in larger quantities, you are going to create a following, people who depend on you and really appreciate what you've done for them so that when you need assistance, they will be there to help you. And the law of reciprocity extends that just a little bit more because when you're giving, you have created that feeling of obligation. When someone does something for you, you feel like, well, maybe you need to give something back. And another example of that is recently I was on a cruise with my 89-year-old mom. We went to a gift store, or a jewelry store, where they were having a drawing for anybody who was on a cruise ship. They pulled her name, and she got this lovely pearl necklace. Then when she went to pick it up, they said, oh, you know, there's this matching bracelet. And it's only $25. I don't think the necklace costs $25. But my mom says, oh, maybe I'll get that. And I went, Mom, you don't need it. And the person behind the counter is like, oh, yeah, she does. I finally drug my mom away. And after we were away from the counter, she's like, yeah, I didn't really need that. But I saw that law of reciprocity in action. She was given something for free, and then she felt obligated to give them more money than the free item was worth. If you can see that interaction there, you can see how that helps you when you give to other people in the form of leadership. Because when you give, the people that you shared with will then be available to you when you need someone for a committee member, when you have a project with which you need help. And maybe outside of Toastmasters, you may be running for an elected office and you need people to help you with your campaign. Or running for an international office and need people to help you with your campaign. They're there for you because they feel that sense of obligation. The fourth law, and the one that I think is the most stunning, is the law of contrast. The law of contrast says that when two people are doing the same job, but one of them goes the extra mile and puts more effort into their job, they're going to stand out and they're going to shine. I use these coins right here to illustrate my point. $2 $, same currency, same date, same value as far as what they might be on the book. But which one is more attractive?
The shiny one.
The shiny one. Most people want to pick the shiny one because it does look good. It spends the same, but it has a little extra appeal. But when you do a better job, you become that shiny coin. When your club does a better job of meeting its members' needs, you become the shiny club. Wouldn't you rather be a member of a shiny club than a yucky, dirty, ugly club? Most people would. Most people would. The benefit of the law of contrast is that it helps you to stand out and shine. And as a leader, when you're doing a really good job, other people can see the job that you do and offer you opportunities outside of the environment in which you're working. So, when you have a shiny club, people want to join your club. Most people want to belong to a shiny club and not this kind of yucky club. So you see, as a leader, we can take advantage of those 4 universal laws. The law of compensation, the law of increasing return, the law of reciprocity, and the law of contrast. I encourage every one of you to think about the benefits that you derive from being a leader beyond those that you help. We are in Toastmasters because we either want to be a better communicator or a better leader, and our new tagline is where leaders are made. It's all about leadership. I encourage you to use these laws to your advantage, not just to help yourself, but to help the world be a better place. Be a shiny leader in a shiny club.